G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life.
And we have just bought the cheapest ex-police Commodore in the country.
We found this car on Turner's Damage, stating it had a transmission fault and wouldn't rev past 3000 RPM. But with our basic knowledge of ZF6 transmissions, that didn't suggest a problem with the gearbox, more that the engine was going into limp mode because of some other reason. Besides, ZF6s tend to be absolutely bulletproof anyway, so we were pretty confident if it had an issue, it would be an easy fix. So we decided to take the risk and bid on it anyway, and we got it. The car was in Hamilton, so back when I still had a work car, we jumped in my mighty CX-3 and blasted off early in the morning. It was a bit of a crazy idea, but we figured if we left early enough, we could drive to Hamilton and back to Wellington in a day. Around 13 hours of driving and over 1,000 kilometres. We did it a few years ago when picking up Jack's 535i, and I came to the conclusion that we could do it again. After arriving, I went to fill up the CX-3, Jack picked up the Commodore and very quickly came to a rather funny conclusion.
The second I went to leave the park it was in, put it in drive, turned the wheel, put my foot down, it just revved up and went bang.
Oh.
And then it started moving and I pulled out of Turner's and it kind of went into like a false neutral again. It went bang and I went down the road. And then ever since it's been okay, but then I got to do it again around a roundabout. I'm wondering if it doesn't have enough trans fluid in it.
Well, that would make sense.
And it's just had a change recently.
Oh, look!
It's still got the cues.
Still got the lights in the front. Oh yeah, there's
wiring
the
in there.
radio wheel. Oh, yeah,
Some wiring.
My leg is sticking to the glue. Man, we're gonna have a hard time getting all this off, eh? What the heck is all that?
It's the anti-vomit sheet.
Safe for communities together, you can still see it. There's a black... What is that? Police safety orders. Oh, it still has the siren button on here too. So after a rather gentle drive home, trying not to slosh around the limited remaining transmission fluid, Jack put the car up on a hoist, and here's what he discovered. Well, here we are in our ex-police Commodore that we bought for just $3,200. Jack is at the wheel, and he's here to tell us what we've discovered so far.
So, looked like there's a leak from the oil cooler that goes into the transmission. There's two O-rings in there. Took that off, cleaned it up, and we put it back on. It still looks like there's a bit of seepage, so that could be one. But inside the little access hole where the torque converter is also quite wet, and these are known for splitting torque converters open.
At the very least, we're going to have to replace a couple of O-rings in the transcooler. At the worst, we're going to have to pull the transmission off and rebuild the torque converter.
Yeah,
basically.
or recondition it or something.
The next question is, this is used to pursue criminals. How fast is it? And elaborate too on the history with this car. So it was an AOS vehicle, you said?
I think it was PST and AOS, so Public Safety Team, which is just normal policing really.
Yeah.
And AOS, the big men in the guns and their suits.
What does AOS stand for?
Armed Defender Squad, so it's all the big massive guns and everything.
Right, okay.
And they generally take the older cars that they can just hammer.
So basically what we've learned from that is that this car has been filled with guns, big men, and has been driven at great velocity across Hamilton.
Yep.
And now we've bought it. So with a rough idea of what was wrong, Jack set about pulling the car to bits and confirmed that it was indeed the torque converter that had cracked. With the torque converter on the floor, we got it sent away to a place in Auckland to be re-welded, and thankfully it didn't take too long to get it back, and with everything back together then, it was my job to get it all cleaned up. And what a job that was! I began by pulling a few dents and giving the car a thorough detail, cleaning all of the filth out of the door jambs and crevices. And then it was time to attack the glue residue. And annoyingly, they don't just use normal car wrap, it's like industrial grade 3M reflective tape with some of the most nasty glue residue I've ever seen. Initially, I tried rubbing it off with industrial cleaner, which worked, but was unfathomably slow. In the end, I resorted to using paint thinners and scraping it off with an old credit card. After hours and hours of work, it was finally glue free, and then I could work on fixing the mess I'd made of the paint. I re-washed the car and clay barred the whole exterior, and then polished out some of the deep scratches and faded trim around the doors. I re-glued the worn rubber seals, removed the vomit protector which revealed the immaculate looking back seats, pulled off a lot of the stickers, and removed a whole lot of police paraphernalia from inside. But after a solid vacuum and wipe down, it was finally looking clean enough and ready to sell. Check it out! Some people are die-hard Holden fans, some people are die-hard Ford fans. I'm neither. I have hated both brands my entire life. They're only driven by bogans and dads who want the biggest, cheapest built and fastest sedan they can get for the money. All of them seem to have 20-inch blacked out rims on them, tinted headlights and tail lights. However, I must admit I have been pleasantly surprised by the drive of this particular Evoke. It is in theory a base model fleet spec sedan with tiny wheels, roly-poly suspension, cloth interior and a polyurethane steering wheel. It doesn't sound like a particularly good recipe. Because this one is ex-police, it has the SV6 suspension, which you wouldn't think would make it too much of a difference. But it means that this car handles and changes direction really rather well, I must say. And genuinely, you can push it into a corner like this, and it is a very proficient handling car. It is not a word of a lie when I say that this is actually a great driving car. Turn traction control off, you have to hold down the button for about 20 years, but the transmission is a ZF6, so like with any ZF6 car, it just does exactly what you ask of it. The handling's good, steering feel is alright, but it is a quick steering rack, so it changes direction really nicely, and you can huck this car along a back road like this. And it is an extremely fun and very proficient car to drive. You can see why these were used for years as police cars, because they're just the perfect car for it. Massive tyres, so you can bash them up and down curves, you don't have to worry about it. It just feels strong and meaty and like nothing's going to break. And now that we've fully repaired the transmission on it and given a full detail inside and out, ripped off all the glue and everything, it's actually a really tidy car. And I think that it will go off to a very happy new home. I hope I don't see it in a few years' time with 200,000 Ks, rough as guts again on 21-inch blacked out BGW wheels and headlight tints, but hey, once we sell it, it's in the general public's hands once again. So there we are, our ex-police Commodore is complete. Thank you very much for watching. There will be plenty more interesting car flips like this one on the way, I'm sure. And I will look forward to seeing you again next time.